Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this now. One of the alleged kingpins, the name is Dollar Man's, he was shot last night, and let me restart that. Dollar Man's victims has been rescued. This is hours after he was killed in a shootout with police in Kempton Park. Now, businessman Mohammed Seedat was found in Alexandra this morning. This is after being taken in July. The alleged mastermind, whose name has not been disclosed, I should say, was shot on the R21 late yesterday. Now, police say he was linked to at least 9 kidnappings in South Africa and Mozambique. All right, let's discuss this further now, and we are joined by Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Dr Bandile Masuku. Dr. Masuku, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. It was in June of this year when police statistics told us that more than half of cases of kidnappings that are reported in South Africa take place in the province of Gauteng. And so how significant a development are last night's incident, or is last night's incident?
It is something that we received as a report. Gauteng is known to be the epicenter of kidnappings across the country. As you rightfully said, it is around 52%. And I think the developments that we saw yesterday actually indicates that there's some work that is getting done. Last week, when we had the police commissioner, appearing to the committee, he actually also indicated that they've made a significant progress in dealing with these incidences of kidnapping. But you would know that there are different types of kidnappings that are happening. Those that are happening through where ransom is demanded, and those who happen through robberies or hijacks, where there's only just for a short space of time when a person is actually held against his or her will. So this is a significant progress, and we like to applaud the police on the work that they've done.
Do we know any more cases that this particular gentleman would have been involved in? Because what we are learning from the police, although they are not disclosing the number of cases, is that he was being pursued in Mozambique for similar cases of kidnappings. Do we know who or how many other such cases would he have been linked to?
Yeah, I think for the purpose of the work that the police are doing, we wouldn't be able to disclose some of the information, but they are coming closer in many of the cases that still remain unresolved. But what the police commissioner raised as a point of concern is how the families usually work even outside the police and pay equal ransom. And he said that this also encourages this type of crime to continue actually, like happening. And it's something that we actually also want to advise the public that, when you are involved in this, let's allow the police to do their work and maybe not even incentivize, kidnappings by paying, the ransom. But there are cases that have been resolved, particularly those ones that are called express kidnappings, where, people are hijacked and then they are taken along by the criminals. Those are ones that usually get resolved quickly, and they get followed up quickly.
Now that we're discussing yet another incident of kidnapping, because on the back of the shooting of the alleged mastermind here, a businessman, Mr. Mohammed Seedat, was found in Alexandra the very next morning, which was today. He was taken in July. Let's get into the modus operandi of why people get kidnapped in the first place, as a way of cautioning the public, because I would think that they don't just target anyone, but it is people who obviously either move around with cash in their business operations, or there is knowledge of perhaps large sums of cash that these people would possibly possess in their bank accounts. How should the public protect itself?
I think mainly that there are types, the majority of the kidnappings that I indicated are the ones that are called express kidnappings, which constitute around 80% of all the kidnappings. And those are the ones that result from actions like hijackings, house robberies, or house invasions. And then those that we are talking about now, they constitute around 20% where business people are involved. And we know that Bedford View, Bruma Lake, and those areas where there's big business and Chinese business and so on. This is where the business people are actually targeted. And usually these are syndicates that work even across border, and others are actually involved, the people that work within those businesses. So those are the types that we are dealing with. And those are the ones that would be very difficult for policing to happen, but they need a very strong intelligence-led operations for them to be even prevented. But for the general ones on hijackings and house invasions, it is advisable, for the public to always keep awareness, be conscious of their surroundings, and also be careful and cautious every time when they display whatever they are having in terms of watches and so on. So it's just a matter that the community must continue to raise their awareness and make sure that they even raise suspicion if there's something that seemingly is very suspicious around their surroundings.
Final question, Dr. Masuku, and it is slightly off topic, but it does involve criminal activities nonetheless. The Premier of Gauteng yesterday announcing that there is going to be the political killings task team that will be launched in a month's time. Uncomfortable questions are being raised through social media platforms as to, one, why is this being announced by the Premier, who might likely lead it? Because under normal circumstances, the provincial commissioner would have announced this, flowing from what the national commissioner said in Cape Town during that Interpol conference. Are you aware of this?
Yes, it's something that was indicated to us, but it's an issue that, you'll recall that in Gauteng, the Premier is the actual MEC for community safety. And in discussions and in conversations that they've had, that we have also been part of, noting that there have been a number of councillors that have been killed, particularly in Johannesburg and in Tshwane. And this also raised concern that if police don't really focus on some of these killings, we might see, a spread or a rise of such killings. So it's important that as Gauteng, we nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. And I think this is a conversation that the commissioner himself will be the one that will be, taking up and making sure that, he focuses some of the attention to this type of killings that we have seen, raising their ugly heads in our townships.
All right. So it's making sense now. That much is clear. The Premier was merely making this announcement in his capacity as someone who also leads the community safety portfolio, which is housed within the Premier's office. Thank you very much for that clarity, Dr. Bandile Masuku, the Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio Committee Chairperson.